Pinhook Bog in the Indiana Dunes National Park is an incomparable relic of the last ice age. This rare ecosystem provides a remarkable look at the unique geography left behind by the massive glaciers that once dominated this region. The bog was formed over 10,000 years ago when a fragment of one of those icy giants broke off and melted. Its waters created a lake whose bed was sealed tightly with clay-like glacial till, the sediment left behind by the receding glaciers. With no springs, rivers, or streams to replenish the lake with additional fresh water, the organic matter that decomposed here over thousands of years slowly filled the lake, depleting the oxygen and making the water highly acidic. This in turn slowed the process of decay and rendered the bog a prehistoric time capsule, giving scientists a rare glimpse into the past through pollen samples preserved deeply in these murky waters. And yet, even amidst these harsh and peculiar conditions, a diverse array of life thrives in Pinhook Bog, not in spite of, but because of the unusual environment. In fact, the bog is home to 1/3 of Indiana's rare or endangered plants. These include the Carnivorous tamarack trees, evergreen trees whose needles change color and drop in the autumn just like leaves, and whose beautiful cones resemble rosebuds. Beneath their sheltering limbs grows a variety of delicate orchids, including the rare orange-fringed orchids, rose begonias, and the aptly named pink lady slippers. But don't let these lovely flowers tempt you. The leaves of the lady slipper have small hairs that can cause a rash as painful as poison ivy, so you will need to tread carefully. This is particularly true because the magnificent Pinhook Bog quite literally overflows with life. Plants grow right beneath your feet thanks to the abundant sphagnum moss, which floats on the surface of this ancient lake and forms a thick mat upon which other plants take root. This incredible moss is like a giant sponge and can absorb 18 times its weight in water. The moss forms the unique floating landscape that makes Pinhook Bog what is known as a quaking bog. Today, visitors can watch the trees tremble at their very footsteps as they traverse the boardwalk that stretches over the moss. As the centuries pass, this moss will continue to grow downward towards the bottom of this ancient glacial lake, and one day the quaking surface will instead be solid ground. For now, however, the bog still trembles, as would any poor insect unlucky enough to encounter the bog's most remarkable inhabitants. An amazing assortment of carnivorous plants have adapted to the nutrient-poor conditions in the bog by finding other sources of food. Several species thrive in the harsh acidic water of the bog, and each has evolved its own unique way to feed on its insect prey. They may look harmless enough from the outside. Take the aptly named pitcher plant, for example. What threat could it possibly pose to the scampering ant or the fleet deer fly? This small, doomed visitor is about to find out, for nearly every part of the plant forms an elaborate death trap. Its lip, called a peristome, is quite slippery, making it difficult for any unfortunate insect to avoid falling inside. Those that do find even more unpleasant and fatal surprises awaiting. The plant's interior has many fine grooves that prevent its victims from climbing out again, as well as numerous filaments almost resembling teeth that further bar the insect's escape. The plant's digestive fluids have special enzymes that dissolve even the most heavily armored insect, unlocking the much-needed nutrients for the plant. Incredibly, while the interior of the pitcher plant spells the end for most insects, 2 different species of mosquitoes lay their eggs here, and their larvae feed on the undigested insect remains floating inside the plant. These young mosquitoes make their home inside this lethal plant until they grow their wings and fly away, leaving behind their very dangerous nest.
There's a whole little mini ecosystem that's actually found in the water of the pitcher plant. You get microorganisms that are going to be found in here, bacteria, which are going to help degrade the prey. And also you have some other types of microorganisms called protists, particularly protozoa. So what happens is you get these bacteria that are in the water, and then you get these protozoa which actually prey on the bacteria. And then eventually what happens is you'll have a mosquito that will lay its eggs inside the pitcher plant. And it's a particular type of mosquito, it's actually called the pitcher plant mosquito, that is specialized to the pitcher plant. So now you have the ants that crawl around, that fall in the water and drown, the bacteria that are degrading the ants, the protozoa, which are feeding on the bacteria, and the mosquito larvae, which are the top predators, which are then feeding on the protozoa. So you have this whole little mini ecosystem with these different levels of interaction that are going on. So to say that these plants are carnivorous, well, it's true. Their prey are insects, and that is what is being degraded. But really, it's mostly the microorganisms themselves that are degrading the ants and releasing the nutrients for the plants.
If the pitcher plant relies on its slick, unclimbable surfaces to catch its prey, the sundew, on the other hand, relies on its deceptive beauty and its sticky stems and leaves to trap and digest its food. Any insect tempted to stroll across the alluring surface of these small plants soon finds itself hopelessly stuck and facing a slow but inevitable end. The famed scientist Charles Darwin found this species of plant so remarkable that he once wrote excitedly to a friend, "At the present moment I care more about Drosera than the origin of all the species in the world." In plants like the sundew, Darwin saw just how incredible adaptation for survival could be. Just imagine a plant that devours insects to survive. And not all of the carnivorous plants of Pinhook Bog are content to be passive hunters. The rare horned bladderwort actually sucks very small insects through openings in its bladder, trapping them inside and digesting them. While many bladderworts found elsewhere are aquatic, these have developed to live both on land and partially submerged in water, making the bog an ideal home and hunting ground. And carnivorous plants aren't the only hunters to be found here. Another noteworthy predator lurks in the shadows. The fishing spider waits patiently for its prey to disturb the calm water, and then it pounces.
It's just slightly smaller than a tarantula, has a very large abdomen. The bottom side has 6 spots, but you don't want to pick it up to look at the bottom side. They float on the water, and that's how they catch their prey.
These intimidating-looking arachnids can run across the water's surface, chasing down insects, tadpoles, and even small fish. They can even hide underwater when threatened. In spite of their rather frightening appearance, however, they are generally shy creatures. Pinhook Bog is a great place to catch a glimpse of these impressive hunters in their natural habitat. The bog is home to a dragonfly that thrives only in this special habitat, but you'll have to pay close attention to spot it. It's the elfin skimmer, the smallest dragonfly in North America. This tiny creature is less than an inch long and, unlike its larger cousins, is not a strong flyer. Instead, it prefers hiding in the vegetation, only taking wing low over the water when mating or hunting for food. The males can be recognized by their powder blue coloring and their clear wings. Females, on the other hand, can fool you, as well as potential predators. With yellow bands across their black abdomen and thorax, they can easily be mistaken for wasps. This kind of natural disguise is known as Batesian mimicry, named for the naturalist Henry Walter Bates, who first documented it in butterflies. Here we can see the strange acrobatic mating ritual of the elfin skimmer, where the male uses unique clasping hooks on its abdomen to bend the female to form what is known as a mating wheel. Depending on the species, dragonflies and damselflies may remain in this formation anywhere from 1 minute to up to several hours. They can even fly in tandem. Once impregnated, the female will lay her eggs either in a plant in the water or even directly into the water. Infants, known as nymphs, will live in the water until they grow wings. The still water and wetlands of Pinhook Bog provide an ideal location for these elegant airborne insects to grow and one day take flight. While today it is a delicately balanced ecosystem, Pinhook Bog has weathered a number of challenges in its long history. Before gaining federal protection in 1966, for example, the unique conditions were put to use in support of a thriving blueberry business. Up to 1,000 quarts of blueberries were produced each year here before the land was purchased by the National Park System and the work of restoration and preservation began. Even today, one can still find blueberries growing wild in the bog.
This is actually a variety of blueberry called high bush blueberry, and as you can see, it's pretty tall. These blueberries here are actually probably the main reason why we actually have the bog preserved today, because there was a couple, their last name was Jackman. So the Jackmans, Mrs. Jackman actually owned this property, and Mr. and Mrs. Jackman would allow visitors to come down into the bog and to collect blueberries, and they would sell them by the quart. So it's kind of a U-pick operation that was going on here, but that's probably why this area was not drained and filled in and built upon as so many wetlands in the state of Indiana have been. Now today, of course, because this is a national park, you cannot collect the blueberries in a container and take them out. However, if you do come for an open house this summer, you can snack on the blueberries while you're here.
But this fragile place faced an even greater threat in the 1970s when runoff from a nearby road salt storage depot killed 5 acres of vegetation here before the problem was solved. Today, rangers and naturalists work tirelessly to protect Pinhook Bog. The site is carefully monitored, and access to the trail is available only during designated hours. Be sure to speak to a ranger or staff member to plan your visit to this incredible habitat in the Indiana Dunes National Park. The Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail is an incredible natural treasure, and you are an important part of ensuring its future. When you visit, be sure to follow all posted signs and instructions. Visit indianadunes.com to learn about all of the volunteer opportunities and spend time caring for this fragile environment. In addition to the National and State Park Services, a number of nonprofit agencies work tirelessly to preserve and protect the Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail habitats. Learn more about these important agencies and support their efforts with your charitable contributions. Finally, be a champion for the Indiana Dunes. Stay informed and use your voice to tell the story of this wonderful place. Help ensure that all visitors, the magnificent birds, the migrating butterflies, and friends from around the world can enjoy the Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail for generations to come. Check out the links below to get started.